Welcome back to Bravo Breaking News. I am your host, Kim, aka Bravo Breaking News on Instagram. And I am here today because we finally heard from the person we've been wanting to hear from for weeks, and that is Lindsay Hubbard. Yes, as you guys know, Carl and Lindsay have called off their engagement and canceled their wedding in Mexico. And while we've heard from Carl in an unofficial capacity, we have not heard from Lindsay until today. So I'm going to get into her statement and break down exactly what it all means. But before I do, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any Bravo breaking news. So, of course, if you guys are up to date on the Lindsay and Carl saga, we are calling it Scandalito over here on BBN. There has been a lot of turmoil surrounding this breakup. There have been a lot of rumors. We've heard that Carl has potentially had an affair with another woman and gotten her pregnant. Now, we do not know if that is true. It was a Dumois blind, and it has not been confirmed. But what we did hear is a statement from Carl that came from a wedding guest. So last week, people leaked a statement that was meant to go to the wedding guests that Carl wrote, basically about how the wedding is canceled, how he's so sorry about it all, and how he will help them pay for whatever they can. We have not heard much about Carl and Lindsay's relationship or the breakup from Carl other than this kind of, very vague statement. But today, we finally heard from Lindsay, who is addressing the breakup straight up in a notes app statement on Instagram, which is my favorite type of statement. So let's get into it. The statement reads, I would like to start by saying thank you for allowing me the space and time to process my emotions, heal, and grieve the loss of not only my relationship, but my friendship with someone I considered my best friend for 8 years. The last 2 weeks have been the most heartbreaking and emotional weeks of my life. My entire life and future was ripped out from underneath me, and I've had a hard time making sense of it all, with no answers or closure on why. I feel humiliated by how it went down and simultaneously heartbroken that it happened in the first place. My trust has been betrayed, and coming to terms with that has been difficult for me. She continues, this was not my decision, and I do not agree with quitting a relationship at this level without trying everything possible first. I have spent the last couple of weeks finding my own closure and peace. I am grateful to my best friends who have not left my side and have been picking up the pieces of my heart and life every day from the fallout. I am still grieving and trying to process all that has happened, but I felt it was important to update you all. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for the love and support from my friends, family, castmates, and all of you for carrying me through. Lindsay. So she mentions that basically her whole life was ripped out from underneath her and that she is embarrassed by how the situation played out. So this further confirms the news that has been going around about how Carl called the cameras and blindsided her with this news. I feel like anybody in that situation would be embarrassed. If somebody was to break up with you on national television, like that is just the lowest of the low. And whether Carl, really has a reason to break up with her or not, whether it's because, they just weren't getting along, they didn't quite mesh well, seeing as Carl is sober, or he did have an affair, doing it on camera was not the right move. And so the fact that Lindsay comes out and says this, that she is heartbroken, she is devastated, she is embarrassed, definitely confirms that she knew nothing about this. If it was up to her, they would still be together. And so the statement continues by saying that she actually wouldn't have ended the relationship without trying everything possible first. So this tells me that maybe she was really, really trying to hang on to Carl throughout this whole time. If you guys remember, when it first came out, she kept all of Carl's images on her Instagram page. There was still photos of their engagement party, photos of them together, etc., etc. She just deleted those this week. So that kind of makes it seem like throughout the past week or before she started deleting the photos, that she was potentially trying to reconcile. She was maybe trying to get Carl back and convince him to keep keep trying to make this relationship work. It seems as though that didn't pan out as she planned, because I think it's safe to say at this point that Carl and Lindsay are no longer together. And I don't think that there is a chance that they will reconcile. And this honestly breaks my heart because I did want them to work. I really did believe in their love, even though this whole thing kind of came off as a PR stunt to begin with. Hearing Lindsay say these words is really, really tough to hear, that she had no idea, that she is embarrassed, and that she really tried to make it work with Carl. That's really, really tough to hear. I am interested to hear what Carl's reasonings are. But she also mentions in the statement that she has no idea why he did it and still has no closure. So, what does that mean? What was the reason that Carl was breaking up with her? I mean, we don't know. And it kind of seems like she doesn't know either. And that's pretty crazy for Carl to just say, it's not working out and not give any context into the situation whatsoever. Now, I do have to say, Lindsay released this statement saying that she's blindsided, she's heartbroken, she didn't see it coming. However, there was an interview that Craig did with Page Six that kind of says a lot. If you go over to Queens by Bravo on Instagram, she posted this interview yesterday, and Craig is basically saying it wasn't much of a surprise to him, because seeing as he is with Paige and joined her in the summer house for a lot of the summer, he explains that they saw this happening for 2 months over the summer. He says, we lived it for 2 months. We saw them fighting. We saw everything that was going down between them. And so while this came as a shock to everybody, it didn't really come as a shock to him, because when we watch Summer House, we will finally have context into what went down. So this makes me think about it from a different perspective, because if Lindsay was so shocked and blindsided, but Craig, as an outsider, saw it all along, all summer, how they were fighting and potentially maybe headed for, a breakup, this is kind of strange to me. It kind of comes off strange to me that everybody saw it coming but Lindsay. Carl and Lindsay have been through a lot on the show. We've seen them get in fights. We've seen them make up. Even Amanda and Kyle have gotten in a lot of fights, broken up, made up. It happens. So maybe that's where Lindsay's head was at. So while Lindsay seems to be devastated and totally surprised by this, some of the other cast members are not. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out, and if Carl will actually release a statement or let us know any of the reasons why he broke it off in the first place. So there are still a lot of details that we don't know yet about this, but I'm hoping that we get some answers. I will be here to update you on everything we find out. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any Bravo breaking news.